Her lips were inches from mine, soft and trembling, as she whispered my name like a secret prayer. My back pressed against the hotel room wall. Her perfume wrapped around me, sweet and dark, like forbidden fruit. I knew what was about to happen. And God help me, I wanted it more than I'd wanted anything in years. But before I tell you what happened next, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my story. Because trust me, this is just the beginning. Flashback, how it all started. My name's not important. Let's just say I'm an ordinary guy living somewhere in the States. Early 40s. Good job in sales. Nice house in the suburbs. Married man. Or, at least I used to be just a married man. I met my wife, Karen, in college. She was this smart, stunning brunette, always ahead of everyone in class. I fell for her confidence, her sharp eyes, the way she seemed untouchable. In the early days, our sex life was wild. We couldn't keep our hands off each other. We'd skip parties to stay in bed all weekend, laughing, drinking cheap wine, and loving each other until dawn. But life has a funny way of turning fire into ashes. 10 years into our marriage, things started cooling down. Karen became obsessed with her career. She'd come home late, dump her work bag on the kitchen counter, and scroll her phone while I tried to talk to her. Sex became, well, practically non-existent. The first time I noticed the difference was on my birthday. She forgot. Totally forgot. And when I reminded her, she mumbled an apology, gave me a stiff peck on the cheek, and went back to working on her laptop. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan spinning shadows across the walls. I felt invisible. Like I'd become a piece of furniture in my own house. And that's when the temptation started creeping in. The temptation. It began as harmless flirtation at work. A woman named Nicole. Mid-30s. Blonde hair, curves in all the right places. She'd laugh at my jokes, brush her hand across my arm when she passed my desk. One Friday after work, she texted me. "Wanna grab a drink? Just us." I stared at the screen for a full minute, my heart pounding. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I was a married man. I shouldn't even consider this. But another part of me whispered, who the hell cares? Karen doesn't even look at you anymore. So I said yes. That night at the bar, Nicole wore a red dress that clung to her body like a second skin. Her perfume was floral and dizzying. We drank whiskey. She kept leaning closer, her voice soft and teasing. At one point she said, "It's a shame, a guy like you going home to a cold bed." I laughed it off. But my stomach was tight, and my skin felt electric. When I got home that night, Karen was asleep on the couch with her laptop open on her chest. I stood there, watching her breathe. Thinking how she used to wait up for me, how she used to want me. I went to bed that night with Nicole's scent still on my shirt. The craving grows. After that, things escalated quickly. I started texting Nicole late at night. Just friendly stuff at first. Then it turned flirtatious. Then straight up sexual. One night, she sent me a photo of herself in a lacy black bra. I remember my breath catching in my throat. My body was on fire, even though I knew it was wrong. I typed back. "When can I see you again?" She replied. "Tomorrow. Hotel room. No strings." I didn't answer right away. My conscience screamed at me. But the other part of me, the lonely, starving part, told me I deserved this. Karen and I were barely talking. Our conversations were about bills, groceries, or her work projects. I'd try to touch her in bed, and she'd roll away with a sigh, saying she was exhausted. So I made my choice. Back to present, hotel scene resumes. And that's how I ended up pressed against a hotel room wall with Nicole's body warm against mine. She kissed me, soft at first, then harder, tugging at my shirt. "Are you sure about this?" she murmured, her lips brushing my ear. No. I wasn't sure. But I couldn't stop. "I'm sure," I whispered. She led me to the bed, and for the first time in years, I felt wanted. Desired. Alive. Afterward, I lay next to her, staring at the cheap hotel ceiling, guilt crashing over me like a wave. But even as I slipped out of bed and pulled on my clothes, I knew one thing for certain: this wouldn't be the last time. Closing of Chapter 1, Cliffhanger. On my way home that night, Nicole texted me. "Next time, we try something wilder. You up for it?" I deleted the message before I pulled into my driveway. Karen's car was there, parked in the same spot as always. The porch light glowed soft yellow. As I stepped inside, I told myself I'd stop. I'd be a better husband. But deep down, I knew I wouldn't. Because for the first time in forever, I felt alive. The first time I lied to Karen about where I was going, I felt sick to my stomach. Not just nervous, physically sick. I told her I had to attend a weekend work seminar in Charlotte. There was no seminar. No business trip. It was just an excuse to spend 2 nights in a Marriott hotel with Nicole. She didn't even blink. "Okay. Just don't forget to send me the client report before you leave." That was it. No questions. No suspicions. No, "I'll miss you." Something in me cracked that moment. I looked at her from across the room, sitting at the kitchen counter in her sweatshirt and yoga pants, tapping away on her laptop, and thought, how did we become this? So I packed a small overnight bag, kissed her on the forehead out of habit, and left my real life behind for 48 hours of raw, messy escape. Nicole was already in the room when I arrived. Room 805. She opened the door wearing nothing but a silk robe and a mischievous grin. "I ordered champagne," she said, pulling me in by the collar of my shirt. "You're mine for the whole weekend." I didn't reply. I couldn't. My mouth was already on hers. Those 2 days were like a fever dream. We didn't talk much. Just touched. Explored. Gave in to every urge I'd bottled up for years. We left the room only once, for dinner downstairs, where she sat across from me in a low-cut black dress, running her foot up my leg under the table. At one point during the second night, we were lying naked in bed when she asked, "Do you think about her when you're with me?" I stared at the ceiling. The hotel air conditioning hummed softly above us. "No," I said, finally. "Good," she replied. "Because I don't think about anyone but you." That line? It stayed with me long after the weekend was over. When I returned home Sunday evening, Karen was watching a documentary with a glass of red wine in her hand. She looked tired. She barely looked up. "How was the trip?" she asked. I froze for half a second, then smiled. "Productive. Draining. I'm beat." She nodded, like she wasn't really listening. "Dinner's in the fridge." I went upstairs and stood under the shower until the water ran cold. I scrubbed my skin raw, but I couldn't wash off what I'd done. Or how much I'd liked it. That was the night I told my first real lie. And once you lie once, it gets easier. Over the next few weeks, Nicole and I became a hidden rhythm. Lunch breaks turned into parking lot kisses. Late-night texts became video calls where she'd show me things my wife hadn't in years. The lies multiplied. Late meeting. Traffic on I-95. My boss wants me to work the weekend. Each lie slid off my tongue smoother than the last. And Karen? She never once questioned me. If she suspected anything, she didn't show it. Maybe that was the worst part. One night, As I was getting ready to leave for what I told Karen was a client dinner, she surprised me. She came into the room holding a folded shirt and said, "Don't be too late, okay?" I turned to look at her. Something in her voice, gentle, almost hopeful, made me pause. "I won't," I said. She stared at me for a second longer. I don't know what she was looking for. A sign of something? A crack in my expression? Then she turned and walked out. I sat on the edge of the bed for a while after that, holding my phone in my hand. Nicole had already texted. "I'm wet and waiting." Mid-chapter call to action. Before I tell you what happened next, let me pause for just a second. If you're still watching, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. This story's only getting darker from here. Trust me, you won't believe what I did next. I wish I could tell you that was the night I turned around. That I canceled on Nicole, stayed home with my wife, and tried to fix things. But I didn't. I drove straight to Nicole's place. She met me at the door in a tight red dress, no bra. Her lipstick was smeared within 5 minutes of me walking in. Her legs wrapped around me on the kitchen counter, our moans echoing through her apartment like a damn soundtrack. And the truth? I didn't feel guilty. Not in that moment. I felt alive. More than that, I felt seen. Afterward, we lay tangled in her bed. She played with my hair and said something that chilled me to my core. "You're not going back to her forever, right?" I didn't know how to answer. She said it like we were in some kind of love story. Like she was waiting for me to divorce Karen and move in with her. I didn't say anything. I just kissed her again, softer this time, and rolled over, pretending to fall asleep. But here's the thing, cheating is like a drug. The first time wrecks your nerves. The second time feels less wrong. The third time? You start justifying it. I'm not happy. She doesn't touch me. I deserve to feel wanted. But deep down, you know it's all bullshit. You're lying to her. You're lying to yourself. You're lying every damn day. Still. I kept going back. A few weeks later, Karen asked if we could talk. That word hit me like a brick. She sat across from me at the dining table, hands clasped tight. "I feel like we're not us anymore," she said. I swallowed hard. "I know," I replied. "I think we should try counseling," she added. I looked at her. Really looked. She had dark circles under her eyes. Her mouth was tight with stress. She was hurting too. And for a moment, I felt shame creep up my spine. "I'll think about it," I said. That night, I lay awake wondering what kind of man I had become. A husband who smiled at his wife while texting his mistress goodnight. End of chapter. Cliffhanger. The next morning, Nicole texted me. "I need to see you. Tonight. Don't say no." And I didn't. I didn't say no. I never did. The first time it really hit me was a Tuesday night in early spring. Karen was standing by the kitchen sink, wiping down the counter like her life depended on it. She wasn't saying a word. Just scrubbing the granite in circles, over and over. I asked, "Everything okay?" She jumped like she'd been electrocuted. Her sponge slipped from her hand and clattered into the sink. "Oh, yeah. Just thinking." "About what?" I pressed, trying to keep my voice casual. She hesitated, eyes darting away. "Nothing. Work stuff." But the look on her face said otherwise. Up until then, I'd been so wrapped up in my own bullshit, my own secrets, that I never considered Karen might have secrets, too. I thought of her as predictable. Boring, even. A woman obsessed with her career, glued to her phone, half asleep in bed beside me every night. But that night, something shifted. I looked at her and thought. What if she's hiding something, too? It started small. Little things. She'd take her phone into the bathroom and stay in there longer than usual. She'd come home later, sometimes smelling faintly of cologne I didn't recognize. She'd delete entire text threads. Once, I heard her laugh in the kitchen while I was upstairs getting ready for work. A bright, girlish laugh I hadn't heard in years. When I came downstairs and asked what was funny, she froze and said, "Oh, just something I read." It felt like talking to a stranger. I wish I could say I took the high road. That I confronted her openly and tried to fix our marriage. But the truth is, I was in no position to judge anyone. I'd been sneaking around with Nicole for weeks, sometimes twice a week. And yet I couldn't stand the thought that Karen might be doing the same thing. Hypocritical? Absolutely. But that's what affairs do to you. They turn you into someone you don't even recognize. Quick pause here. If you're still watching, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment below if you've ever been suspicious in your relationship, even if you've got your own secrets. Trust me, it's about to get crazier. One Friday night, Karen said she had to work late. I offered to bring her dinner, but she shut it down fast. No. I'll grab something. Don't wait up. I stared at her as she pulled on a sleek black coat I'd never seen before. She wore perfume that smelled floral and expensive. Her hair was curled. Lipstick perfect. "Since when do you dress up for work?" I blurted out. She blinked. "I don't. I'm presenting something to clients." "Right. At 9 o'clock on a Friday." After she left, I paced around the living room like a caged animal. I poured a whiskey, tried to watch ESPN, but I couldn't focus. By 9:45 p.m., I was in my car, driving downtown. I parked across from her office building and sat there like some creepy private investigator, watching the glass doors. Around 10:20 p.m., I saw her come out. But she wasn't alone. She was with a man. Tall. Wearing a gray suit. Dark hair. He touched her arm as they laughed about something, leaning in close. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. I ducked lower in my seat, my chest pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. They walked down the sidewalk toward the parking garage. Karen glanced over her shoulder a few times, as if checking to see if anyone was watching. When they reached the garage entrance, the guy put his hand on her back. Karen didn't push him away. My vision blurred. The same anger I'd felt toward Karen for months was suddenly tangled up with jealousy. And fear. Because if she was cheating, it meant everything I'd been telling myself, that I was the only one sneaking around, that my marriage could still somehow be fixed, was all a lie. I drove home in a fog. I kept replaying the image of her laughing with that man. The way his hand rested on her lower back. The way she leaned in toward him. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I was gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. And the worst part was, I had no right to feel betrayed. I was the one cheating. Me. I was the liar. The sneak. And yet I couldn't shake the thought. Maybe Karen had secrets of her own. Karen got home close to midnight. She smelled like that same expensive perfume. She kicked off her heels and dropped her purse on the floor. "Hey," she said softly, like nothing was wrong. "Late night," I replied, trying to keep my voice even. "Yeah. Sorry." She avoided my eyes. "I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed." I watched her walk upstairs. I didn't follow. I just stood there in the dark, staring at the front door, thinking how completely I'd lost control of my life. The next morning, she acted normal. Made coffee. Read the news on her tablet. Asked if I wanted pancakes. I studied her face, searching for signs of guilt. She looked calm. Almost happy. I wanted to scream at her. Demand the truth. Tell her everything about Nicole. Instead, I said nothing. Because a small, terrified part of me thought, if I accuse her, what if she throws my own shit back in my face? So I kept quiet. And kept cheating. Nicole became my escape. She was wild, uninhibited, always eager to try something new. I'd lie in her bed, tracing my fingers over the curves of her body, trying to forget the image of Karen with another man. But I couldn't. Even in the middle of sex, Karen would pop into my head. And I'd wonder. Is she with him right now? Is she touching him the way she used to touch me? It drove me crazy. One night, Nicole caught me staring off into space after we'd finished. "What's going on in that head of yours?" she asked, propping herself up on her elbow. "Nothing," I lied. "Bullshit," she shot back. "You're thinking about her again, aren't you?" I swallowed hard. "I don't want to talk about it." She sighed and rolled away from me. "You're never going to leave her, are you?" I didn't answer. Because I didn't know the answer myself. A few days later, Karen dropped another bomb. "I'm going on a work retreat next month," she announced over dinner. 3 days. It's mandatory. I froze. "Where?" I asked. "San Diego." "Who's going?" She shrugged. "My team. A few clients." I tried to keep my face neutral. But my mind was already spinning. Because suddenly, I had a very bad feeling that my wife's secrets were bigger than mine. I used to think juggling one affair was chaos enough. Turns out, 2 is a goddamn circus. It started with Nicole getting clingy. She began talking about the future, about me leaving Karen. About getting a place together. "Don't you ever wish you could just be with me full time?" she asked one night, tracing circles on my chest as we lay in her bed. I said nothing, staring at the water stains on her ceiling. The truth? I didn't want a future with Nicole. I wanted the escape she gave me. The way she made me feel 20 years younger. Desired. Alive. But living with her? That was reality. And reality wasn't what I was chasing. So when Nicole started pressing harder, texting me at all hours, showing up unexpectedly at my office, I started pulling away. That's when I met Jessica. Jessica was a bartender at a rooftop lounge downtown. Tall, dark hair, tattoos snaking around her slender arms. She was the kind of woman who made you feel like the center of the universe for as long as her eyes were on you. The first time I saw her, she was pouring shots for a group of guys. She caught me watching her and gave me a wicked grin. "Don't just stare, handsome," she said. "Order a drink." I did. By the end of the night, we were in the back hallway of the bar, kissing like teenagers, her fingers digging into my hair. I didn't mean for it to become an actual affair. At first, it was just blowing off steam. A few kisses, a stolen moment behind the bar. But Jessica wasn't like Nicole. She didn't ask questions about my wife. She didn't want promises. She just wanted me. And I was hooked. Mid-chapter call to action. Before I go deeper, let me hit pause for a second. If you're still watching, smash that like button, subscribe, and drop me a comment. Ever found yourself in a situation you couldn't control, even though you started it yourself? Trust me, it's about to get even messier. I started splitting my time between Nicole and Jessica. Tuesday lunch breaks. Nicole in a cheap motel room by the interstate. Thursday nights. Jessica after her shift, sometimes in the bar's liquor storage room, the smell of tequila and citrus heavy in the air. I thought I was handling it. That I was some master of deception. But the truth is, I was sloppy as hell. One Thursday night, I was with Jessica in her apartment. We were halfway undressed when my phone buzzed. It was Nicole. "Where are you?" I stared at the screen, pulse hammering. Jessica leaned over my shoulder, read the name, and raised an eyebrow. "Is that your wife?" she asked. "No," I lied, tucking my phone under a pillow. "Just work stuff." Jessica wasn't stupid. She didn't push it, but the look on her face told me she knew. And she didn't care. Meanwhile, at home, Karen was getting weirder. She'd be texting late into the night, smiling at her phone. She started going to the gym more often, even though she'd never stepped foot in a gym our entire marriage. I'd come home and see her standing in the bedroom mirror, trying on new lingerie. Lingerie she never wore for me. One night, I blurted out, "Who's texting you all the time?" She stared me down like I'd grown a second head. "Excuse me? I notice you're on your phone a lot," I stammered. "Wow," she snapped. "That's rich coming from you." And that was the end of that conversation. I started checking her phone when she was in the shower. She had it locked with a new passcode. That nearly made me throw it across the room. I began to spiral. Lying awake at night, picturing her with that man in the suit. Wondering if she was planning to leave me. Wondering if she was in love. But even as paranoia gnawed at me, I kept sinking deeper into my own mess. One Saturday afternoon, Nicole invited me to a fancy hotel downtown. She'd gotten a suite, just for us. I tried to say no, but she wouldn't hear it. When I got there, she met me at the door in black lingerie and red lipstick. She pulled me inside and slammed the door. Halfway through kissing her, my phone buzzed again. Jessica this time. "Miss you. Come over tonight?" I felt like my skull was splitting in two. Nicole was moaning against my neck, clawing at my shirt. Meanwhile, Jessica's messages popped up one after another. "Baby? Where are you?" I wanted to scream. The sex with Nicole that day was frantic. Desperate. Almost angry. Afterward, she lay on the bed, her head on my chest. "Why do I feel like you're not really here with me anymore?" she whispered. I didn't answer. Because in my head, I was already planning how I'd sneak away to see Jessica later that night. At home, Karen was distant as ever. Sometimes she'd sit across from me at dinner and stare like she was trying to solve a puzzle. Other times, she'd talk to me sweetly, like nothing was wrong at all. I couldn't tell if she knew about Nicole. Or Jessica. Or if she simply didn't care anymore. A few nights before Karen's San Diego trip, she came to bed in a silky nightgown, the same deep burgundy color she'd worn on our honeymoon. She climbed into bed beside me, laid her head on my chest, and whispered, "Do you still love me?" I nearly choked. Of course," I said. But even as I said it, my mind flashed with images. Nicole arching her back beneath me. Jessica moaning my name against the bar counter. Karen in that parking garage, laughing with another man. The night before Karen's flight, she packed a tiny suitcase. Just 3 days' worth of clothes. But I noticed something. Tucked beside her folded sweaters was a black lace bra I'd never seen before. "New lingerie?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She gave me a faint smile. "Just thought I'd treat myself." I stared at that suitcase for a long time after she zipped it shut. Because deep down, I knew. My wife wasn't the only one living a double life. And maybe, she was better at hiding hers than I was. Karen left for San Diego on a Thursday morning. I carried her suitcase to the trunk, kissed her on the cheek, and told her to have a safe trip. She barely looked at me. "Thanks. I'll call you tonight." Then she climbed into her Uber and disappeared down the street. I stood in the driveway long after the car was gone, gripping my coffee cup so tight it almost cracked. The house felt huge and empty. And for a few minutes, I thought, this is my chance to come clean. To fix my marriage. To end this double life before it destroys me. But the thought lasted about as long as it took me to check my phone. Nicole had already texted. She's gone, right? Come over. Let's make the most of your freedom. I stared at her message. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Then another text came in. This one was from Jessica. When can I see you? I miss your hands on me. So much for coming clean. By Thursday night, I was at Nicole's apartment. She opened the door in black stockings and nothing else. Pulled me inside, locked the door, and didn't even wait for me to take off my coat before dropping to her knees. It should have been heaven. It felt like punishment. Halfway through, I pulled away, breathless. I have to go, I muttered. What? Why? She demanded. I need air. I stumbled out into the cold night, my shirt half untucked, my belt hanging loose. Mid-chapter call to action. Hold up for a second. If you're still listening, hit like, subscribe, and drop me a comment. Ever felt trapped in your own mess, like you've dug a hole so deep there's no way out? Because that's exactly where I was. And it was about to get worse. Friday morning, Karen called from San Diego. Hey, she said, her voice breezy. Just wanted to say hi. It's beautiful here. I tried to keep my tone normal. Glad you're enjoying it. I might have to stay an extra day, she added quickly. There's meetings. I frowned. Meetings on a Sunday? Yeah. You know how these things go. Her voice was too bright. Too casual. Later that day, I couldn't help myself. I searched for her hotel on Google. I even called the front desk pretending to be her brother. Is Karen checked in? I asked. The clerk paused. I'm sorry, sir, I don't have anyone by that name registered here. My blood went cold. By Saturday, paranoia had me by the throat. I tried calling Karen again, but she didn't pick up. Texted her 3 times. No reply. I tried to distract myself by going to Jessica's bar. But when I walked in, Jessica was chatting up some finance bro in a Patagonia vest. She glanced at me and turned away, like I was invisible. I left without saying a word. That night, Nicole called me over again. I went, because where else was I going to go? We ended up in bed, but halfway through, she whispered, "Do you love me yet?" I froze. I can't answer that, I said. She sat up, eyes blazing. You're never leaving her, are you? Nicole, it's complicated. She shoved me off the bed. Get out. I pulled on my clothes and left, feeling like garbage. I got home past midnight. The house was silent, the air cold. I poured myself a bourbon, sat at the kitchen table, and stared at my wedding photo on the wall. Karen and I looked so damn happy in that picture. Like two people who had no idea what was coming. Sunday morning, my phone buzzed. It was Karen. Flight landed. On my way home. I replied. Can't wait to see you. But the truth was, I was terrified. When she walked in, she dropped her suitcase and gave me a quick hug. How was San Diego? I asked. She smiled faintly. Productive. I waited for her to say more. She didn't. Instead, she went upstairs to unpack. A few hours later, I found her sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone. What's wrong? I asked. She looked up at me, her eyes glassy. Nothing. Just tired. But I saw the lock screen on her phone. A message preview from an unsaved number. It said, "Last weekend was amazing. When can we do it again?" I froze. Karen noticed me looking and tilted the phone away. "Don't snoop on my stuff," she snapped. The air between us felt like glass about to shatter. I wanted to scream. "Who the hell is he?" But I didn't. Because the second I opened that door, I knew she'd shove my own secrets back in my face. And the worst part was, she'd be right. So instead, I said quietly, "Okay. I'm gonna go for a drive." And I left. I ended up in a motel off the interstate, alone. Sat there staring at the walls while trucks rumbled past outside. I thought about Nicole. About Jessica. About Karen and whoever she'd been with in San Diego. And I realized something. I'd become a man I didn't even recognize. Here's the truth, I'm still married. I still sleep beside Karen every night. We're still pretending. She doesn't know about Nicole. Or Jessica. And I don't know the full truth about her. But I do know this. We're both hiding things. We're both pretending. And I don't know if either of us will ever stop. So yeah, my marriage is full of deceit. And if you've listened this far, thank you. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Drop a comment if you've ever lived with secrets you can't confess. Because my story isn't over yet. And maybe yours isn't either.